super fun. Two topics I think about a lot. Branding being one of my favorite. We have a bit of an unusual life as a brand, I think. So hopefully it's still relevant to people. I thought JR did a great job moderating. It was a good group. I mean, Caroline sort of, having been in-house and also working, PR for a number of brands and having a lot of global experience as well was a really, really great perspective to have. And then Jesse, of course, as well as so we were in very different fields. But it was very interesting just to hear like the overlap in thinking about brands and globalization. So I thought it brought a lot of good broad perspective. Yeah, I mean, I generally agree that we should all think global. Taiwan companies should think about global, and there are many options in thinking about global. Right? It's not truly. I think I agree with Caroline in a sense of launching a brand globally is the most ideal. I do think the stepwise process in getting there that's very important is identify a core customer first. Make sure your product is ready to expand. Sometimes that's quote unquote local, as in our case, in Twitch's case, a specific community, which was gaming, albeit that was global, right? We had streamers from all over the world that we were collecting feedback from, but it was focused down in a sense, micro in a sense, where we were finding that specific wedge. And so it's really about finding that wedge first, testing, iterating, making sure your product is sticky if it's meant to be sticky. If in the case of enterprise, like once you get it, once a company kind of embeds it as that customer company scales, you're kind of stuck in general. Obviously, you still have to do a good job and make sure your product is useful in the way it's meant to be useful, so that they don't churn. But you got to find that retention. You got to find that engagement, and once you find that, then you start to expand, whether that means global or otherwise. And so I think it's really important for early stage businesses to think on a global level, to think about a brand and marketing that can extend to global, but to focus on whatever that core audience is. It doesn't have to be literally local, as in it wouldn't have to be Taiwanese customers. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. It just needs to be a focused down customer set that you can learn from and iterate upon before you start to think about that expansion. The baseline stuff, you have to be very smart. You have to be hardworking. You have to have grit and persistence. You have to be willing to ask all the dumb questions that a lot of people are afraid to ask. You have to be self-aware and understand what you lack and what you need help with. Everybody needs help, and a real dedication to the problem you're solving. I think passion is one way to say it. I don't know if it's necessarily passion or obsession, but you have to really care fundamentally about the thing that the problem that you're attacking. Otherwise, 9 times out of 10 people just start to lose interest because they don't really. We suffered from this before Twitch. Actually, we weren't users of Justin TV really. Justin stopped streaming, and none of us were really watching anything on it. And you could see the disinterest. You could see the teams starting to do other stuff and become very defocused. And so we experienced this firsthand. And I witnessed this a lot in young startups as they chase all these different problems. They have all these crazy ideas, many of which are good ideas. But it's the ability to really commit to one, to focus, to really truly focus down on an interesting problem that has broad appeal, as in it is commercializable, right? Whether that means growing on an audience perspective or growing on B2B or enterprise perspective, doesn't really matter. It just, you have to see that level of focus and dedication to a core customer and understanding of that customer. And then for me personally, it's just like, I like to work with people I like. We have to get along. That doesn't always happen. That's okay. Not everybody gets along with everybody, so that's okay. No one should be offended. But you have to work with people you really like, jive with, who get along with, who are interesting, who you care about, and that goes both ways. So I think that's, in a nutshell, I guess, what I look for. I mean, I've been here longer than I expected. I mean, not that I wasn't going to come back, I think. But I brought my parents out here, and so really primary goal is just get them set up in a good place. And lockdown obviously slowed that down a little bit, unfortunately. That's okay. I mean, we'll figure it out. The other thing is, I do want to contribute. I want to contribute to the local startup ecosystem in whatever way that I can. I plan to build a company, my next company, and have a decent amount of the team here. I would like to be one of those companies that helps showcase Taiwan talent. What can we do? And it's in my own way, in the games industry. I'm not a game developer, by the way, so anyone interested in joining me should know that first. I don't know what I'm doing, but I like it. And I would like to tap into both the engineering prowess and the creative ability of Taiwan, of Taiwanese citizens. I do think that I think Taiwan is uniquely able to build interesting games. I don't know, I can't really tell you why there haven't been bigger game companies coming out of Taiwan. I think maybe, if I had to guess, a little bit of just focusing on a smaller community, honestly, of Taiwan. I know a lot of game companies here look at Japan and maybe Korea and Southeast Asia, and that's starting to get more broad. The thinking is becoming larger, which is great. But it really, for me, I'd love to showcase that. And games is great because you're showcasing engineering talent, you're showcasing artistic talent and illustration, animation, and computer graphics. You're demonstrating music talent, because games have everything. They have music, they have art, they have voice acting, they have gameplay. It is truly interactive entertainment. And so it's tough. It's a content industry after all. And so it's very hits based. But I'm hoping we can build something interesting that ends up, if nothing else, at least showing some of the talent here, what is possible to do in the game space.